Hi, I am Amy and I am going to show you today how to make one of these cute little party hats. They're great for any occasion. As you can see, I've got a 3 on this one, so it's perfect for a 3rd birthday party, a 1 on this one, or even just make a generic one with just a cupcake on it, and it can be used year after year. So it fits just like a basic cone hat, and I'm going to show you how to make it. First, the supplies that you will need is approximately a fat quarter or a scrap of fabric that measures about 18 by 22 inches. A piece of interfacing that is fusible. You can see that this one has the shiny side, about the same measurement as the fabric that you chose. I like to use a contrasting or coordinating fabric. This is the one that I chose, and I also fused some interfacing or fusible webbing to the back of that, and I'm going to use that for the applique like I did on those others for the numbers. Other things that you'll need is you'll need approximately 18 to 19 inches of either bias tape. This is a double fold bias tape, or just a piece of decorative trim like this rickrack. And then any embellishments that you might want to put on the top of the hat, like I have this little bow that I'm going to use, and then some ribbon or a piece of elastic to use to tie underneath the chin as the chin strap to keep the hat on. Other things that you'll need are your basic sewing supplies, scissors, the elastic if you want something to draw your template with, thread, pins, needles, things like that. And then I have my pattern, which is just a basic party hat template. You can Google it, or if you would like, I can probably upload one for you. And then I have a template for a number 1 that I'm going to use for my applique on my hat for this demonstration. And or you can use your embroidery machine to make little patches like I have with this one. Like this one's just a little Dora one, and I put somebody's name on it. I have a little variety of them, but I'm just going to use one using my regular sewing machine today and show you how to zigzag stitch that applique on there. So let's get started. First, you're going to want to go ahead and take the fabric that you have and that you've chosen, and then go ahead and fuse the interfacing to that fabric. Get this stuff out of my way. So what I have done is I've taken my template and I've gone ahead and traced it out on my interfacing or my fusible webbing, and then I'm going to place it on the fabric, and I'm just going to iron it down using the manufacturer's instructions as my guideline. And these cupcakes are kind of just randomly placed, so I'm going to just kind of try to work out the best placement. The hat, keep in mind, is going to sit upright on their head, so you just want to keep in mind the placement when you place your fabric. So all you're going to do is, using your iron, is to fuse it down side. Okay, and there you go. So now what I would do is I would go ahead and trim off the excess fabric on the lines that I drew. Okay, so then you have that shape. We no longer need our pattern, so get rid of that. And then what I'm going to do is, using my template and my contrasting fabric, I'm going to go ahead and keep in mind that you're going to want to cut out or trace the mirror image of your number or letter to get the front to look right, if that makes sense. It will if you mess it up, it'll make perfect sense what you were supposed to do. So I'm just going to go ahead and trace around. And then you see you have your outline, and then just cut it out. You could use decorative scissors like pinking shears or something like that here if you'd like to as well. That would look really cute, but I'm just going to do it with a straight edge. Go ahead, and what you'll want to do is figure out what you want, where you want your center to be or your placement for your number to be. What I like to do is just go ahead and fold these corners end to end just to find the center, and then I'll just finger press a little crease in there. You'll be able to see it. And then what I will do is I will line my number up just like that, right along there, so that it's pretty much centered and we don't have to worry too much about it. I'm going to go ahead and pin it down just roughly so that I can hold it in place, and then I'm going to take it to the sewing machine. So I've already got my sewing machine loaded up with, like I said, some green thread for contrast. So what I'm going to do is set it for a zigzag stitch, and I will go ahead and stitch it down. And there you go. So at this time, I'll go ahead and trim my excess threads from the front and the back. Last thing you want are those threads to be hanging down, tickling your little one's head. And you can see that it's perfectly stitched. Well, I don't know if it's perfect, but it looks pretty good, and it's stitched down, and it's going to hold on there just fine. So the next thing I would like to do is go ahead and place my embellishment. Now you want to keep in mind when you place your embellishment, like I'm going to use just this purple bow, and you could place it anywhere you wanted, like here or here. You could use a little button, you know, put it down below or up here. But you want to keep in mind that you're going to have a seam that goes like this, okay? So you're going to stitch over here. So you want to make sure that your embellishment isn't going to be captured within that seam. And yes, I learned that the hard way for sure. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and center it. I can still see that crease of the center from what I marked earlier. And I will go ahead and just keep the settings with that zigzag stitch and stitch it down, just to tack it. Just a few stitches. Okay, so once you get that stitched down, this is what it would look like. So then you want to go ahead and decide whether or not you're going to use your trim or your bias tape. If you are using decorative trim, which is what I'm going to do today, I'm going to use this white rickrack. You're going to want to go ahead and finish these edges. To do that, all you'll want to do is set your machine for a wide zigzag stitch and just kind of zigzag stitch just over this rounded edge. That'll keep it from fraying. Trim your threads, and you can see what I've done is just a simple, you know, kind of rough stitch around the edge just to keep that fraying to a minimal. And then what you'll do is set your machine to a straight stitch, just normal 2.5 inch or 2.5 millimeter length, and center needle, and then just sew your rickrack or your decorative trim, whether you use ribbon or ruffles or whatever you decide to do, and take it right down that center. And I just hold it in place. I don't bother with pinning, but if you would prefer that, you certainly can. And you'll see that we now have the rounded edge is completely covered with a decorative trim. So if you used a bias tape, you would encapsulate both of these edges, so you really wouldn't, or the edge, you wouldn't even need to zigzag stitch it or anything like that. It'll cover that and you won't have an issue with fraying. So now I'll just move on, and what I like to do at this point, and you can do it after the hat is finished if you like, but I think it's easier to go ahead and attach whatever you plan to use to hold the hat onto the head. And I like to use ribbon or even just like some soft baby elastic like this, just to wrap right underneath their chin and hold it on. But I like to tie these ribbons under their chin and it looks really cute. So to figure out the placement on that, what I like to do is, again, take that to the center seam, and then you're going to take one edge and fold it to that center seam and give it a good press, and that's going to be where your first ribbon goes. So I'll just take it on the wrong side, put that, overlap it just a bit, and pin it into place. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this side. So I'm going to take that corner and pull it to the center and just press it so I know where it goes. And then I'm going to do the same thing. Just overlap the ribbon just a bit. And then pin it. That's it. So then what you'll do is just take it to your machine again and go ahead and stitch over those ribbons, being careful to avoid your pin. You don't want to damage your machine. And then you're just going to trim your threads. And then it will look like this. So you can see that these ribbons are just kind of hanging down and they don't seem to make much sense just yet. But now what you'll do is, this is really, you're really just about done, is you'll just go ahead and you'll fold these to where you have your point here and your two ends meet. So you can pin it if you like, but I'm just going to hold it in place. Well, I'll pin it for the demonstration. You really should, because you don't want it to shift and miss the seam. So I'll just get a couple of pins here and there. And like I said, you want to make sure that when you sew that up, you're not going to hit that embellishment that you chose. And have to redo the whole hat, that would stink. So all you'll want to do is go ahead and you've got it all pinned up, take it to your machine, and you'll give it a 1/4 inch to 5/8 inch seam allowance, and just sew it on down. I like to back stitch up at the top corner pretty heavily just to make sure that it doesn't poke through. And then what you have is going to look like this, and you're like, oh no, my hat is inside out. So you have to turn it, and I like to go ahead and just take my finger, and if that's really pointy, what you'd want to do is just kind of round it off. And then, anyhow, I would take my finger, put my finger all the way up inside the hat, and then push against it with my other finger to get that point nice and pointy. And another trick to do is I just use the blunt end of an old paintbrush handle and push that corner in, and then just pull the hat right side out. And there you have it. It's pretty much done. What I like to do at this point is, you can see this seam here. I like to go ahead and run my paintbrush handle over it just to open the seam up. It presses this edge so that it's not so rounded, and it just looks more finished, I guess, that way. So I will run my paintbrush handle, I don't know if you can see that or not, just on both sides of that seam, all the way up into the point. And you can see it, that pretty much presses it out pretty good. And another thing you could do at that point is take your iron and just kind of insert it inside of the hat and just give it a good press. Just run it around to kind of avoid your ribbons, because those might melt if they're not cotton ribbons. And there you have it. You can see that it looks pretty finished. It looks nice. And using my creepy mannequin head here, I will demonstrate how to wear the hat. So basically, you'll put it on their head. You can put it off to the side if you like, or center it. I like them off to the side. Looks kind of cute and maybe old-fashioned and festive. And then just tie it securely. And that's it. Hope you liked it. Thanks for watching.